The join kind allows us to get more control on the way our merge feature works. For that, let's have a look at another theoretical example. We have two tables once again, this one and that one. So we have a structure that we just saw in the menu with a query on top and one at the bottom. And the top query is typically referred to as the left query. The bottom query is typically referred to as the right query. Now the goal here is quite obvious, I guess. We have a common ID column of both of these queries. One table contains the sales, one table contains the region where these sales were generated. Now we want to create a new query with an ID column, a sales column, and the corresponding region column. To do that, we need to use a merge. We learned that already, but we have to specify what our merge should look like. For that, we could, for example, use a so-called outer join. The outer join has three different options, you could say. One option would be a left outer join. The left outer join would lead to this table here. And we can see that the left query was added, well, the way it was at the beginning actually. And the right query was also added, but with one missing value. What happened here? Well, we would have selected the ID column as the common column between our two queries. With the left outer join, we then tell Power BI Desktop to take the entire IDs it can find in the left query, so we keep actually the initial state, and then check whether it can find these IDs in the right query. If this is the case, then, well, please add the corresponding values. For example, we can find the ID A in the right query, so USA is added. Well, if you can't find a corresponding ID, B in our case, cannot be found in the right query, then simply give us back an NA. But in the end, we keep the structure of the left query and add the information of the right query. If we don't have the information, we have an A. We also got a right outer join, by the way. The right outer join works the other way around. Here we see that the initial structure of the right query remained the same, but the sales column of the left query was added, but now with the gap at the ID BB, because the ID BB simply is not available in the left query. We can also combine the logic of these two queries with the so-called full outer join. The full outer join will create a differently structured table, because here Power BI takes the structure of the left query, so you can see it, it's the same result in the end that we saw in the left outer join, but then it also performs a right outer join. What Power BI then finds is that, well, the IDA is already existing, so we don't have to add it a second time, but BB was not added, so it adds this information as an additional ID. Then for C it's the same, C is already present in our table, therefore it's not added here. So that's the first part, outer joins. We also have so-called anti-joins. Here we have two different options. The first option is the left anti-join, and the result here would be this table. If you now closely inspect the left outer join we saw previously, then you see that the only added column is the column where we couldn't find data for in our right query. And that's exactly the anti-logic here. Anti-joins add columns to the tables where we couldn't find any values in our left query. For the right anti-join, it's the other way around again. Here we get back the BB ID, because it's the only ID where we couldn't find a value in our left query. So again, if you inspect the right outer join, you can see that A and C are not displayed, because here the join was successful in a way that data could be found. For BB, this was not the case, therefore it's displayed here in the right anti-join. There is one final join type here, and this is the so-called inner join. The inner join kind of combines the information of our two tables, where the ID can be found in both tables. In our case, this is true for the IDs A and C. For the ID B, we cannot find a value in the right query, therefore this column is not added here, so we can find this ID. And the BB ID is also only available in the right query, therefore we cannot find it right here. So this is how join kind works in theory, and which different options we have to tailor our merge, you could say. Time to get back to the project now.